Welcome to a special episode of Just a Bet Outside. We're going to do a little World Series preview between the Astros and the Phillies. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is our first baseball video, and I brought on a few knuckleheads to talk baseball with me. So we've been friends our whole life, and this is going to be awesome. And we're going to trash talk. We're going to give out some best bets, cover both these teams. Just a little heads up, I absolutely hate the Astros, and so I'm going to try to talk with my head instead of my heart, but I can't stand them. So Jake, Kellen, how we doing today, guys?
Doing awesome. Hate having to talk about Houston, but we got to do it.
Yeah, right there with you guys. You know, excited to talk sports. Excited to see the series. Don't love Houston, but they're a good ball club, so
yeah,
we'll go.
We're also bitter Mariner fans right now, so I still haven't got over that, and neither of us have. So, anyways, we're going to talk about the Astros first, then the Phillies, and we're going to give out some winners. I'm pretty sure we do have about 9 winners, and they're all guaranteed locks, like all bets are. So,
guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely.
They're all
let's talk about this freaking Astros team. I hate them all, really. You got guys like Bregman, who probably has the most punchable face in Major League Baseball. And
he's the most smug person to ever live, I think.
Yeah. Ever since they cheated and they didn't care at all or say sorry, really, it just, dude, yeah, it's brutal. But
it's crazy to look at that lineup of all of the guys that went through all of that, and Bregman is the one that, I mean, with Altuve with his situation and Correa, Bregman's still the one that comes out the cream of the crop of a guy that's like, I can't stand this guy.
Exactly. And they're loaded. They haven't lost the playoff game yet. And I just want to throw this stat out there just because I'm an Astro hater. There's been 2 teams in the wild card era that have entered the World Series undefeated. And guess what? Both those teams freaking lost in the World Series. So
please God,
keep that in mind. There is a chance. We have the 2007 Rockies that lost and the 2014 Royals who lost a 7-game series to the Giants. So
I was going to guess the Dodgers, but
no, it can happen, gentlemen. It can happen. So let's go a little bit about this rotation. Jake, what do you think about this rotation the Astros have?
Brutal rotation. I mean, just looking at some of the numbers they had from the year, they led the entire Major League Baseball with 94 quality starts from their starters, and so that's from 6 pitchers, right? Well, the 6th guy only had 8 starts, so your top 5 guys had a total of 89 quality starts, 6 innings or more, 3 runs or less. I mean, you're giving your team an opportunity to win every single day, and you're saving your bullpen basically every single game. We talked about it earlier. 94 out of 62 games, your starters going 6 innings. I mean, talk about keeping your guys locked and loaded and being ready every single day. Is
that a record? I mean, I don't know what the record is, but that's got to be up there.
It's got to be really high. I mean, we'll talk about the Phillies later, but they had, almost 40 more quality starts than the Phillies had. Like a 25% more of an entire season. I mean, ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
But the guy I mean, realistically for me, the guy that stands out the most is that Framber Valdez, right? Short, chunky lefty. He's a 74 to 94 guy. That's tough, especially from the left side. And you got a starter like Justin Verlander. You always look for a quality number 1. 39 years old and he's still a number 1, still looking at getting another Cy Young. But then you're backed up by this guy who dominated. I mean, out of his 31 starts, he had 26 quality starts. I mean, that's literally saying every time this guy gets on the bump, we have a really, really, really good chance. We just have to score a couple of runs.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think it's funny to look at because it's like you look at Verlander and he's their number 1, right? But Valdez is more lethal to me than Verlander is. I mean, maybe it's recency bias with the Mariners touching up Verlander for 6 in the first round of the playoffs, but Verlander's beatable. I mean, he's a great pitcher, but he's beatable. This other guy, man, he's just lights out. He's scary. He's got scary stuff. His range is high and low. It's tough to hit him, man.
Yeah, no, and Valdez, I mean, he literally only gives up ground balls. I mean, you cannot barrel this guy up. He's got sinkers, he's got pitches diving down, and it is tough to hit. Verlander is kind of like a hit and miss. I mean, he can strike out 10, and Valdez can
Right.
do that, but he can also get touched up if he doesn't have the location. But Valdez is a machine. He's just a freaking machine. And we didn't even mention yet Lance McCullers, who's usually hurt because he throws like 99% curveballs all the time. But yeah, he's legit though. He's no joke.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to think about it. He's coming off of almost an entire year of missing baseball. He had only 8 starts this year, and 5 of those are quality starts, and he's still an all-star. So your number 6 guy, what you could call a 6, is still an all-star. So if you're not going to stick with a 5-man rotation, which we rarely see in a World Series with a 7-game series, you have potentially 2 guys who are going to be able to come out of the bullpen and throw long innings for you if you need it. If it so happens that one of these top 4 guys gets shelled at any point in time, you're still backing them up with beyond quality. You know what I mean? You're talking about 2s and 3s on other ball clubs that you're bringing out of the bullpen that you can send down to the bullpen at any point in time. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is ridiculous. And we didn't mention Christian Javier also. I mean,
yeah,
the list just goes on and on with these guys. It's just ridiculous. I'm curious, if you were the head coach of the Astros, how would you do this? Would you go 4 starters? Go 3 starters? You go Verlander, McCullers, and Valdez, or you go, keep one out of the pen?
Honestly, I don't think they have a reason not to go 4 starters. Their bullpen is so strong. Their starters are so strong. It literally doesn't make sense for them to not. If they get in a pinch, it's not like their bullpen's not going to save them. And even then, you could change the plan on the fly and
right.
start warming up a rotation guy. I don't see why they wouldn't stretch it. All of their pitchers have proven that they can pitch in the playoffs. All their starters. I mean, you just watched McCullers' last game, and he still has it. So I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. To be honest, the Phillies aren't going to face a bad arm in this entire series. And speaking of that, let's go to the bullpen. I don't know what the Astros do, but they turn guys that struggle into absolute superstars. I'm still investigating to see if we have cheating going on again somewhere in the Houston organization. But like Rafael Montero, we know him as a Mariner fan. He looks like a bona fide stud right now. And they got Neris and their closers Presley. Stanek, I think, had the lowest ERA of all bullpen guys, at like 1.1 ERA or something. He might maybe their 4th out of the pen. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
When you have a 2.9 ERA as an entire staff, that's tough. I mean, you usually have 1 or 2 guys that are going to light up the board and say, okay, he's our kind of wash-up guy. He's our 12 or our 10 or 12 that if we're starting to get shellacked and we might be out of this game, we're going to throw you in there. They don't have one of those guys, And Kellen, you brought up earlier, you and Steven were talking about, and I know this is going to hurt, but the 18-inning game against the Mariners, they had, was it 8 or 9 guys throw, and every single one of them dealt. Straight dealt.
Yeah, there isn't a weak link in that bullpen. It's just arms after arms, and I think a season total ERA for their entire bullpen. I don't think there's a guy qualified pitcher. I don't think there's a guy that has an ERA above 4. So you're talking some of their worst bullpen guys have an ERA in the 3s.
That's unheard of.
That's crazy. I think I saw a stat that they don't have their worst pitcher whip is a 2 for walks hits per inning pitch. Like, come on, like what? Like it's just unheard of. Their bullpen is crazy good, and you think of the Astros, and for some reason you don't really think of their rotation or their bullpen, and it's elite. So it's something that's like really pushed them to be who they are and where they are right now.
Absolutely, and I think Brian, what's his name, Brian Abreu, isn't that the rookie out of the pen that we were talking about
Brian
before?
Abreu. Yep.
But dude, I mean, they're 6 deep. They've given up 3 runs in 33 innings in the playoffs. Even if you don't know baseball, that's good, and you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just unbelievable. And so I'm going to be fascinated by this series. We'll get into more, but their lineup, it's probably the weakest part of their team. Just crazy to say. But lineup. Any players to watch? You guys think, or what do you guys think about this lineup?
you guys know about my guy, and I don't know why I have a thing for him, but Yuri Gurriel. I mean, we talked about it earlier. He's 38, but he's got the most hits in postseason in the last 2 years. He's got over 80 hits since they started in the playoffs. Was it 2016? I mean, 80 hits in 6 postseason seasons. That's scary, you know. And I mean, he's just a guy that figures out how to get on and score runs. You know, he may not produce the most RBIs, but he's scoring runs and he's getting on base for all of his other for the rest of his team.
Yeah, and I think
he's hitting 367 by the way so far this postseason.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not bad.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy to say that like Jordan has had a quiet postseason, even though I don't the pitch that he hit to send the Mariners away game 1, I don't think has landed yet, but he still has 8 bombs, and they didn't play the wild card series, so he's third in postseason home runs this year with 8 bombs, and they're they didn't have that wild card series to play in, and he's still kind of had a quiet postseason. So I mean, he's had some big knocks, but he's playing great, and obviously his bat's a huge piece of it. I think that he could have a monster series in this World Series.
He really could. And real quick to go back to the bullpen, I don't think the Astros have a lefty coming out of the pen. I think that's what they were talking about. I don't know if they're going to do that in the World Series, but yeah, they don't have a lefty because they just got so many good righties that can dominate lefties.
They don't have a single lefty, which is crazy.
That's just wild.
And I'm going to throw one more thing out there, and we talked about this a little bit earlier. The Astros have only played 7 postseason games, where the Phillies are coming in playing 11. I mean, so talking about not using your guys, 4 more games in baseball is huge, especially for a pitching staff. Now, I know that they've stretched. It feels like they've stretched the postseason out over the last, 5 years or so, where they're putting a lot more rest days in the middle. But that only benefits a team like the Astros, where they're getting those rest days and then still beating teams. You know what I mean? Their bullpen being able to be fresh. They're able to go, okay, I'm going to throw 1 inning. Cool. And I'm going to not throw for 4 days. Sweet. Guess what? I'm going to throw everything as hard as I can at every single point in time.
Yeah.
I think the flip side of that is the rest versus rest conversation, right? So like, I think what the major factor for Philly is riding their high and riding their momentum into the World Series. And so they want to play today. They don't want, I guarantee you, if they could opt to play on Tuesday or Wednesday, they'd be in, because they just want to ride that momentum and play. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if after this long break, the Astros have only played 7 games. If for some reason their offense doesn't get going, like that'll be interesting to see, because, they have been sitting for some time. So that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was going to say too, is like, I mean, do you still have momentum when you take 4 or 5 days off in between, baseball?
I don't know.
I mean, you feel good about yourself, but it's not what the Phillies wanted. Everything is pointing in the direction of the Astros in regards to that. But there's nothing I love seeing more than Altuve, by the way, struggling. And he's struggling mightily. I mean, he looks like one of us 3 is going up there and trying to hit these pitchers. I mean, he's looked bad. And it's been really fun to watch, to be honest with you.
So what does he have? He has 3 hits so far in
3
the
for
postseason?
32. He started out the postseason 0 for 25, which is the longest drought to start a postseason in MLB history.
And I think 2 of those hits are infield singles. At least 1, I know.
I think 1. Yeah, I know he got a double in Game 3, I think, against the Yankees. But yeah, it's been bad. So we haven't talked about him, but Jeremy Pena. He's going to be runner-up, probably Rookie of the Year behind Julio Rodriguez, baby. But still, Pena's a stud. They got rid of Correa, and they have this cheap young shortstop who's better than Correa.
Cancer.
It's nice to plug and play with a shortstop like that, right?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, just throw him number 2 spot in the order in this lineup. But I don't think the bottom of their order is that good. The Astros, it's not terrible, but it's nothing. They got Trey Mancini in a trade. He's been awful since he joined Houston. But they got the Maldonado Vasquez behind the plate. Christian Vasquez can hit, but Maldonado's their defensive catcher. So this team's loaded. There's nothing else to say. They're freaking loaded, but it doesn't mean they're gonna win, because it's baseball, and baseball is freaking weird, as you can see. So,
well, I will say one thing: as loaded as they are, they didn't. So how do you put this in the best terms possible? Stat wise for the year, they weren't a great hitting team. I mean, they had 737 runs, which is eighth. Their team average was only 248. I mean, what they did good was hit bombs. And I mean,
Yep.
the Cracker Jack Park that they call a baseball field in Houston, I mean, how are you not? When you're playing 81 games in a Little League field, I sure hope you can hit there. And I mean, you should hit at your home field anyways. But
No, I agree.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
what's
just,
left field down the line, like 180?
I think so.
Like it's freaking brutal
It's
there,
like
man. I've seen
there in New York, you see the home run. You know, where would a home run anywhere else? And it's
yeah.
basically like to right field, it's only New York, and to left field, it's only Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've seen Jordan just like poke at a ball, Oppo just freaking just tap it, and it's like second row back, it's a gone.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But yeah, this lineup's not great. They can hit bombs, but they go in slumps, you know. I mean, there's times when it's hard to hit when there's no sound from a trash can. It could just be kind of difficult to really focus in. And so
Too
you've
quiet.
seen that. Yeah,
Way
it's
too quiet.
Yeah.
You've seen that. Yeah.
Gotta learn it.
So anyways, yeah, that's the Astros. You guys got anything else on any part of this team? They're undefeated, and they're averaging 4.4 runs a game, by the way, so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and just the pitching staff. That's all I can come back to, you know, the entire time. They won 106 games this year, which was it third in all of baseball, or was it second behind the Dodgers?
I think second, yeah.
They won a ton of games. But once again, it goes back to their pitching staff. So it seemed so far it's been invincible. I mean, we all know that the Phillies have guys. I mean, anybody in right now has players. Obviously, there's a reason why and how you got here. We're going to talk obviously a little bit more about the Phillies right now, but the Phillies weren't a very good team, but they still have guys that can put it together. And like, you know, Steven, you talked about earlier, is that momentum. Are the Phillies going to be able to keep that momentum? How are they going to be able to keep that momentum? You talked earlier about not playing that wild card series, and it showed that in Game 1 against the Mariners when, like Kellen, you had pointed to earlier, the Mariners put up 6 runs on Verlander, who's the quote-unquote front runner for the Cy Young. But then guess what? Houston was able to just kind of chip away, kind of create their own momentum because they've got so many guys that have been there, you know. But are they going to be able to match the way that Philly has been into it so far in at least, you know what I mean, the NLCS?
No, I agree.
Yeah, and Philly's going to have to come with it because their roster's not as good, their pitching staff's not as good. They're just not as good of a team on paper, right? I think that's pretty obvious. But in the playoffs, they've been hot, and we all know what things can happen in the playoffs. Teams can get hot. You look at a lot of teams in the past. Look at the Nationals a couple years ago, went off and won a World Series when they weren't that great of a team. But the other thing that we haven't talked about too much with Astros is they are not afraid of the moment right now, and throughout this entire postseason, they could be down 6, they could be down 2, they could give up a home run to the Yankees to go down in New York. It doesn't faze them. They are not phased. They just continue to play baseball, and Philly is really going to have to keep their foot on the gas pedal if they get a lead. Otherwise, it's going to be over quick.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, and especially when you got a guy like Jeremy Pena who's a rookie and just coming up with huge hit after huge hit.
Yeah,
they've been through it before. They lost a couple World Series. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that. I mean, one more point. You look at traditionally, you think about the Astros, and one of the first things you think about is offense, and probably the second thing you think about after offense is Altuve. And when a guy like Altuve, their bona fide guy, right? Their
heart and soul.
Their heart and soul is 3 for 32, and they're still 7-0 in the playoffs.
That's stupid.
That's so tough, man.
Yeah.
Like you've taken out their number. Like, they talk about it a lot, right? Like if you can eliminate, like if you were going to play the Mariners, take Julio out of the game, right? and you've got a chance. You've got a really good chance. Everyone's taken Altuve out of the game, and they've got no chance. You got Jordan, you got Yuli, you got Bregman, you got all these guys just keep coming, and it's crazy.
And the one guy we haven't talked about, Tucker, led him in RBIs this year. I mean, had 107 RBIs this year, and what like you talked about out of the 6 hole. I mean,
stupid.
That's top, top 2, 3, 4, 5 hitter numbers, and he's coming out at 6, 7.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
I agree. The depth, and that's. I know this isn't a Mariners podcast, but I'm gonna bring him up because I freaking love him. The depth of the lineup is huge in this time right now, because in the playoffs you can kind of take away a hitter or two, and then you get to the middle, bottom of the order. Okay, you're good. You know what I mean? But this lineup is not that lineup you can do that with. The Mariners are, but
the Mariners are,
yeah. Their lineup was struggle bus at the bottom. But all right, enough about those freaks in Houston. Okay, let's go to Philly. The Fightin' Phils. Okay, they are plus 150 to win the series. They were at
super low.
87 and 75 this year. Okay.
Yeah.
You look at that record. They would have the lowest win total of all playoff teams, and they had one less win than the World Series champion last year, the Braves, who won 88 games. So it doesn't matter what your record is. I don't look at this Phillies team and say, "Oh, they're an 87 win team." No, they switched coaches and they went 74 and 48 with the new coach. That's the team they are.
After they fired Girardi.
After they fired Girardi, Rob Thompson took over 74 and 48 with him. So.
Wow.
Everyone knows the Phillies' struggles with the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen has been a struggle for them for years. I'm not going to sit here and say they are having an elite bullpen now, but they are good enough with this lineup and the rotation, I think. But yeah, they haven't been in the World Series since 2009. It's hard to say for me who's hungrier in this World Series, because I think the Astros, after the asterisk next to their last World Series, they want to prove they can actually win a legitimate one. But I mean, this Phillies team, let's talk about the rotation. What do you guys think about this rotation?
I mean, they've got a couple guys at the top, right? And I think we all know
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 1-2. It can be a 1-2 with anybody in the league. I think the questions are after that, and so it's going to be how the back end of that starting rotation plays that really sets the tone for the series.
Yeah.
Their top 4 starters with Nola, Wheeler, Gibson, and Suarez. They had 60 quality starts. I know I keep going back to the quality start issue, and it's one of those things. Once again, I find that a little tantalizing, because I feel like 3 runs by a starter is kind of a lot for me to call it quality. But I guess that's also today's baseball, where runs are, a premium, and hitters are hitters, and it's either going to be one of 2 things. It's going to be a shutout or it's a shootout, type of situation. Steven, you kind of turned my head a lot on this Zach Wheeler kid. I was not super high on him until we started looking over his numbers, seeing where he's at, what he's done, throughout the season so far and everything like that. But what concerns me with their 1-2 so far is, like we talked about earlier, is Wheeler has 4 starts already in this postseason. That's a lot. I mean, granted, he's only throwing 25 innings, but I mean, that's 6 innings a start at least. And that's a lot in an 11-game span. Is he going to be able to throw game 1, game 4, game 7? Is he going to be able to give them those innings? I mean, he's only got a 1.75 ERA over those 4 starts, but can he keep that up? Can he keep his team in it against that lineup in Houston?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Wheeler is a stud. They are too deep. Ranger Suarez is the guy who came up for them. He's really stepped up. He's pitching much better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season. But I mean, it's got to be like, can they go Wheeler game 1, Nola game 2, Wheeler game 3, Nola game 4? Can they just keep going back and forth? Because I don't know if it's going to be pretty. In my opinion, this game 1, if it's Zach Wheeler versus Verlander, this is a must-win game, I think, for Philly. When these 2 are on the mound, they're must-win. I know you're thinking they're playing Verlander. It's in Houston. Like, how can you call that a must-win? I just really think it is, because they got to take advantage of these starters when their studs are on the mound, because they don't have many of them. That's my opinion.
And you have to take one away game and you have to do it against the number one. I mean, I understand how it would be nice to win game two, rolling into going into your home half of the series, but giving your team that boost that we can beat a number one is huge, you know. But the biggest thing that I think that I'm excited for, and I'm super hopeful, is Noah Syndergaard. He's coming out of the bullpen for the Phillies right now, and
baby.
we all know that he's an ace. I know he's not coming off injury and everything like that, but he's a bona fide stud.
Disagree.
And he might disagree.
He sucks. Okay, so it doesn't suck. That's a little extreme. He's not that good anymore. He doesn't throw hard anymore, and he's struggled this year a little bit from what I've seen. He may, I don't know what his stats are in the postseason, but I know he's a bullpen guy now for them.
Right. He's a bullpen guy for them now, but he was a midseason trade coming off of injury. You know what I mean? So is he ready? Is he posed for it? You know, I mean, he was an absolute stud when he was with the Mets. And I think he's got it in him. Maybe it's just me being hopeful. Maybe it's me thinking, hey, this could be the wild card. Like, who knows what could happen? Maybe he's the spark. But
yeah, I think it's his hair that you like, but whatever.
I love that.
No, I agree. You never know. They need a guy like that to step up, though, big time.
Yeah, but I think if you look at this Phillies team, like going into the season, and you looked at that lineup, and you were like Harper, Schwarber, Real Muto, like all these guys, right? This is the finally in the playoffs. This is the team people thought they were going to get, and it's lucky they got in the playoffs because they were maybe not even going to get in, and that doesn't matter now. And so all that matters now is how they're playing today, right? And so I think if you look at the lineup, I would definitely favor Phillies lineup, especially the way they're playing in terms of how they're hitting the baseball. I mean, you know, Bryce Harper leads the postseason in home runs, and I think Hoskins is two. I know they've played a couple more games than some other teams, but you know these guys are hitting the baseball, and so it's funny to look at where you thought Philly would be at the beginning of the year, and then they struggled, and now they're kind of coming into form. And really, all that matters is like how they come into form during the biggest time of the year.
Yep, I agree. You know what's hilarious about this? And it's not just us talking about it because we hate the Astros, but we're just like, the Phillies want to keep playing. They're on a roll. They're hot. The Astros are freaking 7-0. Like,
yeah, they're hot too.
Like, but it seems like it's the Phillies that are riding this wave when it's really, I mean, they're both just on fire. And to me, records and all that mean nothing right now. Like, this is even. I mean, the odds at plus 150 for the Phillies are decent odds because anything can happen in a 7-game series when you got two.
Yeah, that's a coin flip. That's basically a coin flip. And I mean, that's the hardest part that I see with it too is Houston somehow coasted to 106 wins. Like, you didn't hear about Houston all year. And it wasn't because they weren't a good team. It was just kind of like, all right, Houston's winning. Like, what's new? It's like the Dodgers winning. You know, it's just that the Dodgers shut down their leg against the Padres.
I think Houston also, I can't remember exactly, but I feel like they started a little slow. Like they didn't start hot out the gates, and then they started playing better. And it was kind of in the dog days of summer when they started to really get hot. And it was Houston, and everyone's like, oh, well, they've done this for how many years in a row, right? And so it was just kind of expected that Houston was going to play good, and they did. And, you know, and then I think everyone was kind of fascinated with the New York story of them possibly winning 120 games and then possibly, you know, falling to the wild card or something like that. It was like everyone was so like tuned into the Yankees failing for a while there that it was fascinating to watch that. So perhaps that's what took some shine off of the Astros regular season.
Yeah, definitely. And the Yankees had the best record at the All-Star break, and then the Astros just absolutely caught on fire. But we knew they weren't sneaking up on anybody because we're Mariner fans, and we have to see them a lot. So this bullpen, 4.27 ERA in the regular season. This is not a bullpen you think of as, okay, this is a World Series winner. So, you know, people always say you got to have a strong bullpen, you know, to win in October and all that kind of stuff. you really don't have to. You can have a lot of timely hitting and some good starting pitching, but they count on guys that, let's face it, we all didn't know much about these guys at the beginning of the year, like
No.
Dominguez, Jose Alvarado. I know a little bit. Syndergaard we just talked about. Robertson. I saw Brad Hand throw last series. That guy can't control a fastball to save his life, and so all they're sitting on is loopy curveballs. He has a 7.36 ERA right now in the playoffs.
Ouch.
This could get ugly. I mean, you could see some games where the Phillies are up after 5, and you're just gonna have to freaking hold your breath, honestly.
Well, I mean, you made a good point because the Phillies have had timely hitting, and so if they haven't had that, it could go south quickly. And with a team like Houston, where they never stop, they will never stop like hitting the baseball, and it doesn't matter how many runs they're down. They've been in the situation. They've been to the World Series multiple times in the last handful of years. The light's not too big. The pressure's not too big. So, I really think this could be one of the things that if the series goes south for Philly, it's because their bullpen is just going to get hammered.
Yep.
Yep.
I agree.
100%.
I have a side note because my brain's kind of going all over the place with stats. Do you guys know who holds the record for most RBIs by a third baseman in the playoffs?
Well, it's not Kyle Seager because he's never been. So
You are correct. It is not Kyle. He has 0.
Ouch.
It's Alex freaking Bregman. He has played 6 seasons in the majors and has more RBIs in the playoffs than any third baseman. He passed Chipper Jones. I just thought that was freaking crazy. Anyways,
I hate that guy.
Back to the topic.
How does he just hit everything? I just don't get how
I
he
hate
hits everything.
His swing. Dude, there's so much I hate about him.
I think the thing with me with Bregman is it's not pretty. Like, he doesn't have a good looking swing.
No.
It's not pretty to watch, but it's so damn effective, and he puts the bat to the ball and puts it in play. I mean, even a couple times he's had some just flicks of the wrist of the two strikes just to put the ball in play, and it's in a gap somewhere, and it's like, I mean,
he did that against the Yankees,
right? Yep. That he's doing exactly what you want every baseball player to do. It's just not that pretty to watch, but unless you're a Houston fan, you're loving it.
Yeah. Right. No, he has a great approach, and actually, it's kind of reminds me of Ty France a little bit. Bregman's better than France, but just that when you don't see many 2-strike approaches in the majors anymore.
No.
You see guys swinging for the fences, which is what the Mariners did for 18 innings straight, trying to be the hero.
Yeah, but I got to win.
Bregman's back control is pretty ridiculous, but so this Phillies lineup, Harper is doing some historic things right now. I mean, he's hitting .419 in the playoffs.
I hate that guy too.
Okay,
you hate everybody.
About Bryce. I love Bryce, baby.
What do you love about it? I mean, besides
the passion he plays with, like, how can you hate? Make baseball fun again, okay? Let's just like, how can you hate that? What do you hate about him? What is it?
He's an asshole, is what it is. He thinks he's better. Okay, I understand that when you're that high of a level, you're an MVP caliber guy. You're a number 1 overall draft pick when you're 16. Yeah. Sure, I get you have to have some swag. You have to have a little bit, but he's a guy that thinks everything should be given to him. He gets pissed off at umpires all the time because he gets bad pitches called against him and throws his helmet and just pouts like a baby. I love the passion when he lights something up, and sure, but to me, there's a big difference between having passion and being a spoiled, rotten kid. And I just think he's a fucking turd. Sorry.
Wow. Really?
Turd.
You really don't like him that much. Kellen, can you be on my side here?
I originally was not a Harper fan, like in his early years at Washington. I think I've done a 180 on him, and I think I just like putting myself in his shoes. Like, can you imagine the situation where you finally leave Washington because you're like, I want to win. You go to Philly, you get this big contract. Washington wins the World Series without you, and you're sitting in Philly like, fuck, like, damn it, like, what did I do? And he didn't hear much out of him about it. He just kept playing. And then and then finally he gets his team to the playoffs. I mean, he did it in Washington too. Finally, he gets the Phillies to the playoffs, and not only is he performing, he's one of the best players in Major League Baseball right now. And so to me, I look at that, I'm like, okay, everyone in Philly is looking at Bryce Harper like you need to do this, and he's doing it. He's hitting over 400. He had that go-ahead, basically game-winning home run the other night. Like all eyes are on him, and he's performing. So I think that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I agree. He's been on base all 11 games. He has a 10-game hit streak in the playoffs. Just some fun facts for you, Jake.
That's fine. Okay, so here's my thing. How about I say this? He's a great baseball player. He is a great baseball player. But there's always that transition side of does the humanity of Bryce Harper outweigh what he is as a baseball player? And that's my question.
I think you put him in the bucket of the type of guy you want him on your team, but you hate to play against him.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
Who's more punchable, Bryce Harper or Bregman, Jake?
Bregman.
For you.
Oh, Bregman.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Did Bryce Harper fight? What?
Dude, he fought Papelbon, his own teammate, in the dugout one time too. But
wasn't it who Scherzer? Did he fight Scherzer, or was that Papelbon?
He charged him out on somebody too. Who was that?
And he threw a helmet. Who
threw a helmet?
Honestly, ready for some Austin Powers? You know what I mean? If you're going to charge them out, fine. I love it. Charge them out. 2, how he threw that helmet and where it went. He threw it to first base. You throw 96 from behind the dish, and you threw it to first base? Come on, guy.
Yeah, it was ugly. I'm not going to lie about that one.
But Bregman's face is so punchable.
Oh, gosh. But Harper's a stud. I get what you're saying. I just hate watching boring baseball players, to be honest. And so, like, when he shows passion, like, this is a hard-ass sport. Baseball is a game of freaking failure. And so when you're doing things right, like when he hit a big double in that last series, that iconic 2-run homer, by the way, good Lord. I mean, you're this highly touted 16-year-old number 1 pick, and you hit an opposite field homer. I could watch that all day. I mean, I just love that kind of stuff. So,
did you see him after in the dugout?
When he was
basically was like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, I did that. Yeah, he was basically talking to himself, and like there was cameras on him, and like you could be like, he's like, damn, I really just did that, which was for a guy like him who's done everything at this stage in his career to still kind of be like, damn, I didn't, like, I'm still kind of impressed. Like that's pretty cool.
To know right then and there, like that's an iconic moment in baseball. Yeah, like you just did that. Yeah, pretty cool.
And see that, and some of that stuff, like where it kind of makes him human again, is cool.
Yeah,
but you know, and once again, we all have the guys that we like, we have the guys that we dislike, and everyone's got the ups and the downs and so on and so forth. I just feel like he's been mollycoddled for his entire career, being the chosen one, you know what I mean, type of deal, and he's been allowed to, you know, kind of act the way that he's wanted to, you know, and that's, but I guess, you know, Kellen, you call me an old hat all the time, you know, because I love the bunt. I love to get him over. I love to get him in. You know, I'm not this huge, let me hit 30 bombs.
Just to be clear, we played with Jake. He wasn't bunting a lot. I just wanted to
point that out. No. Okay. But I love the game. Yes. And I love seeing it.
So
get him over, get him in. What a game.
I got to ask you then, Padres 9th inning bunt when they had a guy on first and second to get it to 2 outs, guys on second and third.
That's a horrible
call. Is that? A horrible call.
A horrible call.
Okay. That was the second out, right?
Right. It was 1 out with guys on first and second. You already have a guy running his runner scoring position.
Ridiculous.
And you're going to give up an out?
Who bunted? Do you know?
It was the
bottom of the order
center fielder. I can't remember his name.
Is that Grisham or no? I don't know. Anyway,
I can't remember, but yeah.
No, you don't bunt. No, that doesn't make any
strategy wise. That's terrible.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? So that's the hard part too. Is like, so you hear about it. You know, you guys do a ton of NFL stuff on this podcast, and what do they call it? The analytics, right? Mm-hmm. All the analytics of, do you do this on this down in this yard range, so on and so forth. And I know we keep bringing them back. You know, bringing the Mariners up. I really think Service went with some analytic stat that said Jordan Alvarez doesn't hit lefties well. So that's why you bring Robbie Ray out of the bullpen instead of keeping Seward in and or going to Munoz. But that would be my only guess, is the analytics show that either that guy doesn't hit this style of pitcher well, and so they wanted to give themselves the next guy an opportunity, and instead of maybe potentially hitting into a double play, maybe that guy hit the ball on the ground too much. I don't know. I didn't watch that game because I don't care about the Padres to begin with. But that's horrible. That is a terrible strategic.
Are you seriously going to get me this fired up right now about Robbie Ray and Jordan going on?
No,
Jordan hits lefties just as good as righties. Robbie Ray gives up more homers than anybody in the majors except two pitchers. And the one thing that freaking could hurt you is a home run. And you throw Robbie Ray. Just don't.
Trust me, I get it. I have the same conversation. Why are you taking out the guy that led your team in saves and then not putting the guy that throws 103 miles an hour?
And bring in a starter who never comes out of the pen. Yeah.
And throws low 90s.
Yeah. And can't control anything. When he misses, it's down the middle. Anyways, I digress. I will say, I'm just not even going to anymore. Anyways, this Phillies lineup, they're loaded. Castellanos needs to freaking hit the ball. They need that middle of the order to hit.
Real Muto.
Yeah, he's terrible. He has been bad, hasn't he, so far? He's hitting. Yeah, Hoskins actually. So when you see Hoskins, you think, God, that guy is tearing it up. He's hitting 182 in the playoffs, but he has 5 humongous home runs.
Timely hitting in the playoffs. You can win a World Series MVP off of timely hitting, and that's it. Period. Bar none. Game over. You could have 5 hits in the World Series, and if 4 of them are monster hits, you're the guy.
Yep, I agree, and I'm with Jake on the old school way. This is hard sometimes to watch for me with the approach in their at bats and just trying to hit bombs and hitting 170 and striking out 3 times is okay, I guess nowadays. That's hard for me to handle with baseball, but that's where we're at now. So
I mean, the perfect example right now, since we're talking about the Phillies lineup, is Kyle Schwarber. The guy hit 220 this year, but led the NL in home runs with 46 home runs. But you still hit 220.
And it's crazy because if Schwarber changes his approach, he could hit 300 if he wanted to.
Right.
He just wouldn't have as many bombs.
He doesn't care because you know why? Because you get to watch something like last series when he hit a 480-foot freaking tank. I mean, that thing was launched. And he's their leadoff hitter, by the way.
I know. I love it.
Crazy.
When in the year like 1998 was a leadoff hitter hitting 220? Leading the league in bombs. Like, it's weird and not fast.
Hey, hold on. Aaron Judge hit leadoff for New York for a majority of the second half of the season. I mean, that's true. They wanted to get.
He's not a real leadoff hitter. The positional, the leadoff and all that, that's not really a thing anymore because no one steals bases, no one bunts. It's just weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just get your best at bats, the most at bats in the game. That's all it is.
Exactly. It's kind of like NBA. There's no positions really anymore. Everyone's just out there.
No.
But so Philly's got a good lineup. They can easily battle with the Astros, in my opinion. It's going to come down to their bullpen and rotation. They're going to have the series of their life, and I'll be rooting for it. I'm going to tell you. So
I mean, I will say this: the Phillies and the Astros played at the beginning of October. The first couple days of October, they had a 3-game set. The Phillies took game 1. They won 3-0. Astros came back and blew them apart. Game 2, won 10-0, and then Astros squeaked out a win in game 3, winning 3-2. If that kind of gives you an idea of what this game, what this series potentially could be, that's an up and down. I mean, you're talking about shutting out a team and then giving up 10 runs the next day and then coming back and then, holding them to another 3 runs. Like that to me screams excitement. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get that tight pitching duel? Or are you going to get the blowout?
Yeah.
And for me, seeing and hearing or reading about getting blown out 10-0 and then coming back the very next day and losing 3-2, that means that those guys are able to completely wipe the slate and say, okay, guess what? Yesterday's not today. Today's a new game, and let's go battle.
I agree. Do you know that the Phillies celebrated on the field in front of the Astros? Astros didn't care, but the Phillies clinched a playoff berth when they beat the Astros in that series. I just think it's kind of weird that they clinched a playoff berth celebrated. Now they go play them in the World Series. But that could have been why they lost 10-0 the next game. I don't know if they played starters or not. It could have been, but you never know.
They're
I
probably
don't know.
drunk.
Just a little bit. Hey, let's get into some bets because what's better than watching sports? It's betting sports. That's right. So we're gonna give some World Series MVPs and then just a couple of our own bets. And I'm gonna start us out. And this is a guaranteed winner, of course, like all my bets are.
Every time.
We're gonna go World Series MVP Rhys Hoskins. Reese's Pieces. This guy plus 1,800. I mean, this guy, like we just talked about, they don't care what your average is when they give you MVP. They really don't. It's just like NBA. They don't care if you play defense to get MVP. It doesn't matter.
Nope.
So this guy has been so clutch. He has been ready for this moment. They've been waiting for Rhys to be big for a while in Philly. And I just think he's going to ride this momentum, and they're going to have to pitch to him because they got Bryce Harper behind him. So I just think he's a good bet to win MVP, especially at those odds at plus 1,800. That's what I got for you. Let's move on to Jake. Jake, what do you got for the World Series MVP?
My World Series MVP is Yuri Gurriel, and I don't even know how to say his name right. But like you said, hitting 339, 337, for this postseason. I mean, the guy hits. He plays great defense. I think he's going to put himself and his team in the position to score a lot of runs. I don't know if I see a ton of home runs coming out of this series, potentially. But, I mean, the Astros had 214 home runs this year as a team. But when it comes to the playoffs, it may come, it may not. But, I think Yuri Gurriel, he's kind of that sleeper that's going to come out and get 8-10 hits this World Series and kind of be that bottom of the lineup catalyst that they're going to need.
I mean, plus
and that's a plus 3,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Nice. Jesus. Yeah, let's move on. I like that bet. That's a good unsung hero. You get that all the time. I think we talked about it before. What was it? Jorge Soler won it last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what his odds were going in, but I'm pretty sure they were not good. So yeah, Kellen, give us yours.
Yeah, I liked Steven, I liked your Hoskins pick. That was actually mine. And so I decided to change last minute to spread it out a little bit. And I'm just going to go Bryce Harper plus 650. And this is a combination of a couple of things. I would love to see Philly make this a competitive series. And for this to happen, Bryce has got to be, on his game like he has been this whole playoffs. So if he keeps hitting for average, keeps hitting bombs, he's got the name, right? So it's going to take, if the Phillies win, it's going to take Bryce to do less than anyone else, right? So if Bryce has an okay series, he still could win the MVP if Philly wins, right? That's just how it works with some of the name brands. I think you've seen that before. Baseball maybe a little bit less because they're a little bit more stat heavy, but I think Bryce needs to have a big series for Philly. I think to make the series competitive, I think it'll be fun to watch him play. And he's been having a monster postseason, so I typically love the value bets, but I'm going to go. I think he's number 2 overall, so not necessarily a value bet, but I think it'll be fun to watch this one.
I like it. No, that's a great bet.
So I got a quick question for you guys, just as a random spitball here.
Yes.
Do you think there's any chance that a guy from the losing team could win the MVP?
No, I really don't.
So say the Astros win, but Harper absolutely goes off. You don't think baseball?
I think that time has passed. I think maybe 15, 20 years ago you could have seen that or more. I think in today's age of sports in general, not just Major League Baseball, but NFL, I think in the NFL you've seen guys on the losing end have the better series, but their team just wasn't as good or the better game. I just think it's the media, the hype, the merchandising, everything that goes around with it's too big anymore to let it happen.
Yeah, and I don't think baseball wants to deal with the logistics of a losing player being on the field with the winning team, and the whole situation is just weird. I don't think they want to, but that would suck though if you hit 700 in a World Series and you lose. I mean,
He hits like 8 bombs, like hits like 700,
Yeah.
throws 2 guys out, has 2 outfield assists, and it's like, sorry.
He's been DHing a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. All right, those are our World Series MVP bets. You know, that kind of tells you who we think or want to win just based on who we just picked for MVP. Yeah, I got another World Series bet for you. I'm going to start out with another weird one. We're going to go back to Bryce Harper because Jake likes talking about him a lot. So Bryce Harper, more home runs than Kyle Tucker, minus 120. Listen, I don't usually do series or future odds that are minus 120 or really anything worse than like plus 600 usually. But I mean, this is just too easy. Bryce Harper has 5 bombs this postseason. Kyle Tucker has 1. All he has to do is hit 1 more than him. That's all I'm asking for. Minus 120. It's
Is
a
that all you need?
no-brainer.
You just need one more?
Just 1. No, I don't know if you guys knew that. Yeah, it's just 1
Oh,
more.
is that how it works?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah, it's not minus 1.5 home runs or anything. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So it's Bryce, and he's gonna do it. He's becoming a legend, the Bryce legend. So if you haven't seen some of those cool videos on Twitter of him hitting that bomb in the last series, yeah, he's about to win his first ring. So Bryce Harper, more home runs than Kyle Tucker, minus 120. Lock it in. Let's go to you, Jake. What do you got?
My first random bet, and we talked about doing player bets, is a Bryce Harper 4.5 hits, over 4.5 hits for the series, and that's a minus 105. I just feel like we've talked about, he's hitting over 400 right now. He is hot at the plate. He is confident at the plate. Even if the Astros sweep, I feel like it's a lock for him to have more than 4 hits. We talked about it earlier about, I don't think the Astros pitch around him, so they're going to give him opportunities to hit. And a small park like Houston only benefits a guy like him who hits to all fields, anyways. So mine is 105. Bryce Harper over 4.5 hits for the series.
I like it. And I think you're seeing a lot of these really good odds on people like Bryce Harper, like mine, home run one, and this one is because they're facing better pitching on the Houston
Right.
side. So, yeah. So you just, with guys like Bryce Harper, it shouldn't matter. So the only worry I have with that one is if Houston tries to actually take him out, which I don't think they will. But if he, he's got a good eye. If he walks twice a game and, they only play 4 games, that kind of stuff. But that's a great bet.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. Kellen, what do you got?
I just want to say when Tucker in game 2 is facing, they're like up 4-0, and he's got some bullpen pitcher coming in with a 8.8 ERA, and he hits 2 bombs in a game. It's gonna be fun to watch.
It's gonna suck.
When he just tees off. No, but so I'm gonna go. We talked about it earlier. I kind of like value bets. That's probably why I don't win a lot, but when you do, it makes it a lot more fun. So I'm gonna go basically most home runs in the World Series. And I'm gonna go Nick Castellanos, and that's plus 3,100. So I think that Castellanos hasn't been playing well, and so this is a stretch bet, right? But he has the ability to drop bombs. He's a home run hitter, and if he comes out and hits 5 bombs in a 7-game series, that means that Philly's in it, right? So he could be that pivotal player that kind of turns the series around. Because even if Harper and Hoskins and Real Muto are playing well, they're still going to need another guy that's doing it to like keep them competitive with the Astros, I think. So I think it'll be fun to if he does it, and B, it's a huge value at what, plus 3,100. So
yeah, that's legit. If you win that bet, I will send you like a DoorDash meal for your family, because I mean, can you imagine hitting 13 bombs in the regular season and all of a sudden you go to the World Series and just crank them out? And you're beating guys like Jordan, Bryce Harper. I mean, that would be crazy. But
it's a bad bet, I'll admit it, but I for some reason could see it happening.
Yeah, you don't put the mortgage though on a plus 3,100. It's a fun bet. Good bet
right.
to do. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, at least not 2 months mortgage. I would probably stick to 1 on that one.
Okay. Well, you're the financial guy, so I'll take your advice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Units are higher this season so far, so I'll take something from it.
That's right. Yeah, when you see my unit count on NFL videos, 1 unit is 1 month's rent or mortgage. I mean, yeah. So
Oh
I
wow.
got one more bet. This is gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna go the Phillies minus 1.5 games in this series. So obviously they got to win it in 6 games or less. Again, all the stats and everything don't matter to me. What's on paper? This is the World Series. Anything can happen in the World Series. Anything can happen in baseball. You saw it last year. The 88 win Braves won it all. Why can't this Phillies team win it? Do I want them to win? Yes, like more than anything in the world. Do I want the Astros to lose? And I might be betting with my heart a little bit, but minus 1.5 games, I got plus 280, I believe, on that one. So it's gonna be tough. They gotta get game one. I would like game 1 and 2 with their studs, and then they throw a couple duds, but they got to at least get a split. But game 1 with Wheeler on the mound is going to be huge. If they can get that, I think this bet is actually has a chance. So plus 280, not bad. I will take that. Jake, what's your next one?
My next one is PvP, and it's Gurriel versus Schwarber on total bases for the series. So that's a plus 135. It kind of just goes back to it. Schwarber's not a guy that hits for average. I think he's going to attack him being the leadoff guy. They're not going to worry about walking him to get to the number 2 guy. I don't think they're going to worry about him hitting bombs. And Gurriel gets on base. I mean, he's hitting for a high average. His OBP is really good so far this postseason. I think he's just going to, I think that's an easy one for me, just total bases. So, yeah, plus 135, I think that's a solid, easy win.
You know what's going to suck on that one, Jake?
When he gets hurt game 1.
Is the very first batter of the World Series is going to be
Kyle
Schwarber. He goes yard for 4 bases.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to be
4-0 deficit.
I'm rooting for Tucker the whole series. You're welcome.
Whatever. Anyways, yeah, Kellen, what do you got? Finish this off.
My last weird major value bet is going to be basically World Series order, winning order. And so I think it's going to follow the logic of basically home and away. So Houston's going to take the first 2. Philly go back home, crowds into it, gets game 2 and 3. And then Houston's like, okay, we're done messing around. We're going to put this away and get 4 and 5. So Houston 2, Philly 2, Houston 2, and that's plus 3,400. That's easy money. Take it to the bank. Rebello, put the whole house on it. Like, let's go.
Lock it. Yeah, no, definitely. That's a kid's college fund bet right there. Like,
yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
The only thing that's like completely inaccurate about that bet is who's going to start game 3 for Philly.
I know. I was just wondering who's going to win game 3 and 4 for the Phillies.
Yeah. So that's the hard part, but I think the Philly fans will will them to victory on games 3 and 4.
They will. So that just so we're clear, Kellen's saying Zach Wheeler loss. We're gonna go Nola loss, and then Rangers Suarez, and maybe Jake's guy Syndergaard comes for game 4, and they get both of those 2 wins. Right?
Hey, yeah, Wheeler and Nola don't have to lose. I think the bullpen could definitely lose them the game. But yeah, someone's got to win the game in game 3, which is not looking great.
No. You know what's weird about that is you have the home team winning every game except it looks like game 6, right?
No, game 5.
Game 5, yeah, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, is it 2?
It's actually 2-2, 1-1-1, I think. So it's actually.
Oh, that's right.
So that would be game 6. You have Houston winning it, I think, in Philly, if that's how it is. Does anybody remember the Houston Nats series? Every single road team won. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The Houston Astros are like 3-9 in their last 12 World Series games at home. I just want to point that out, which makes this even better.
That's amazing. Oh, my God.
Crazy? It's weird.
It doesn't make any sense because they play so well there, but I love it.
Yeah, they just played well there against the Mariners. That's what it looks like.
I think Mariners have like 2 wins in 30 years at that ballpark.
Yeah.
Yep.
By the way, speaking of Yuli Gurriel, he is a Mariner killer too.
Yeah.
That freaking guy. Yeah.
That list goes on forever, though.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Bitter Mariner fans. That was fun. Those are our bets. I'd probably get all those in right now. I don't see any of them losing.
No, not at all.
They're pretty standard bets. Yeah, everyone's probably sitting there thinking Houston, Houston, Philly, Philly, Houston, Houston. That's a common bet. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
With
you guys
with
think about game order like I do?
What was that?
I said with a Yuri Gurriel MVP.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So go Phillies. I really hope they take it home because because I love Bryce Harper and I hate the Astros. So that would be awesome. You guys got any final words about this series or anything else or baseball in general?
I love October baseball. Just because tomorrow's not guaranteed, right? So playoff sports in general are great. Like we talked about with Ryan earlier, this is America's pastime. I love baseball, and there's nothing like October baseball. The excitement is there because we have to wait 4 months, 5 months until we get back to seeing the bat, the ball, and the glove. October baseball is amazing, and I really think this is going to be an exciting series. I hope it's going to be an exciting series. But great way to end it, and hopefully there's some dynamite at the end with the Phils.
Yeah, I think as a Mariners fan, everyone knows how long it's been since we were in the postseason, and so you kind of forget what it's like to be in the postseason and what it's like to play in postseason baseball. So you watch it, and when it's not your team in it, it's still fun, but it's like just even getting a taste of it this year, it like rekindles that like understanding and flame of like postseason baseball and how every single pitch is like has so much pressure on it. You're so tense. You're like thinking about every scenario. Like, okay, now it's 2-1. We should, you're just like all these things running through your mind. And so it's kind of fun that the Mariners have kind of rekindled not just Mariners baseball for me, but playoff baseball in general. So now I'm like more interested in watching this series play out than I probably would have been, in years past. So it's fun to watch again.
I completely agree. Yeah, I was watching those Mariner games was so much fun. I mean, every pitch, like you said, like anything can happen in baseball. And like any other sport, it could be a 3-run bomb and there's the game. And yeah, thinking the game is the best part. This is awesome. October baseball is sweet. And I am looking forward to next year's when we talk about the Mariners playing in the World Series. So that's it. That's our World Series preview. Thanks everybody for listening. That was a lot of fun. I might have to have these two knuckleheads on again because they know what they're talking about with baseball. So
don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's right. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Thanks for everyone who's already followed. We have some more. We got a week 1 NBA recap video coming later. And then Thursday night, we're going to do our NFL best bets video for week 8 and hopefully keep the momentum rolling. So thanks everyone again and have a good one.